Hosting for the Dice Tower is generously provided by Cool Stuff Inc. Cool Stuff, in stock at coolstuffinc.com. Thanks for your support. The Dice Tower, episode 474.
Push your luck.
Welcome to the Dice Tower, a podcast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On today's show, we have a whole mess of stuff, including some board game Gumbo, some battling tanks with Mark Zielinski, a board game tale of horror, questions from the mailbag, and our top 10 Press Your Luck games. I'm Eric Summerer, and here's your host, the Peter Tomarken to my bulldozer whammy, Tom Vassell.
I have no idea once again what you're talking about.
Oh, come on. Press your luck with the whammies and the boop, 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 boop.
You have to realize...
Big bucks, no whammies, stop!
You have to realize occasionally that most people who listen to our show
Yes.
were not born in the 50s.
It's not the 50s, it's the 80s. And I realize that you may be a little older than me, but we do have similar cultural touchstones.
No, I think you have different ones.
Okay, maybe.
Than like everyone.
But not everyone. I'm sure there are lots of people who enjoyed watching Press Your Luck.
Yeah, I'm probably sure. I just don't think everyone knows all the names.
And may have watched the reboot, Whammy, in the early 2000s.
Have you noticed that reboots of game shows just never do well?
Rarely. Although the current NBC, or not ABC slot of Match Game and $100,000 Pyramid, those are pretty solid.
They've both been out less than a year.
But they're pretty solid.
Do you think they'll be out in 2 years from now?
I think it'll be a summer thing that comes back.
You didn't answer my question.
I think they will, yes.
So you're saying both those shows will exist in the year 2018.
Oh, maybe not that long.
That's 2 years from now.
2 years from now? What year is it?
It's 2016.
Wait, you're right. 2 years from now is 2018. I can't do math.
Tell if you're joking or not here, but anyway.
No, seriously. 2018 sounds like the future.
Well, yes, it is the future.
Wait, you're right.
Anyhow, so you're saying they'll both be around in 2018?
I think they will be, yes.
All right, fine. We'll come back in 2018. I'm going to say one will definitely be gone and probably both.
Match Game may burn out, but $100,000 Pyramid, I don't know. They probably need to commit to the whole slate.
Or just go to new. We live in different eras. Very few games will last forever.
It's true.
You know, we're now in the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and stuff like that. Even that era is almost over. All right. Well, anyway, folks, I'm Tom Vassell.
Hi there, I'm Eric Summerer.
And we also like to welcome Nick Tolopka to the show.
Tolopka. Or Tolopka.
Actually, he's not on the show.
No.
We're mentioning him because he won.
Yay, Nick! Congratulations. You won a $50 gift certificate to Cool Stuff Inc. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, actually, folks, thank you. This was a contest you may have had less of a chance to win because we had 2,200 entries, which is a lot.
That is a lot.
So we had a lot of entries, and Nick may already know he's won because this show posts on Tuesday, and I announced the winners and gave out the big prize yesterday on Monday on my live Q&A.
So it's entirely possible that he has won the big prize and we don't know it yet?
It's always possible. The one time the winner from the Dice Tower wins, all the other people are going to be like, but I'm going to show the roll of the die live, so I can't really mess with that.
Right. It'll be like the lotto drawings when they got all the balls caroming all around that globe and it sort of spits it out. You know, the live broadcast when they... Well,
we'll see. All right. Well, anyhow, folks, we're here to talk about board games. So let Eric start us off with a game that's based on something that should be in the Olympics.
Yeah, that would be fun. Flag Dash is the name.
I would watch that every single episode. If they did capture the flag Olympic style, I would not stop watching it.
That would be fun. Or as a game show. I mean, this could be like an American Gladiator style. Anyway, Let's talk about Flag Dash. This was one of the games I was most excited about for Gen Con this year. It is a game where you're playing Capture the Flag. You're adults who played Capture the Flag when you were younger, and you decided at some point you'd all get back together and play Capture the Flag. You play a character who has some sort of special ability, like you may be able to jump or change direction or move diagonally or have some other sort of special thing. And you work in a pair. You've got a teammate who also has a special ability, and both of you also have a third meeple that is your guardian, your goalkeeper, who doesn't have a special power, but you can still move them. In fact, anytime you activate one of your action cards, you can move either your guy or your shared defender. The object is to get the flag from your opponent's side of the board and get it all the way over to your side of the board. If you do that, you win. You can also get flags, like player flags, from each of the three enemy characters. If you manage to do that and get a set of all three of them on one of your characters, you will also win. You've got a little board. It's a pretty small board, not a giant board. And
pretty
it's
small. It's
a grid, and there's your side, there's the opponent's side, there's sort of a no man's street or sidewalk in the middle, and you can set it up all sorts of different ways. There are tunnels that you can place anywhere on the board. They give you a suggested setup, but you can pretty much do whatever you want. There's even a flip side where the street runs diagonally across the board, which presents some interesting challenges. Anyway, you've got your characters, and you also have a set of action cards, and you have a set of action tokens that are numbered 1 through 7. And that determines the turn order. Each round of the game, you're going to play 2 cards face down and 2 tokens face down. One is your first action, one is your second action. If you play the 1, you're hoping to go first, but you're only going to get to do your 1 action card. That's it. If you decide to go further on down the line, you'll get a more powerful action. Maybe get some energy tokens, which you can use to move sort of out of turn. You can play additional cards. You can activate a card 2 or even 3 times, or you can even get all of your tokens back, which is the number 7. You have to go last if you want to get all of your tokens back. So you all reveal your first card, and the lower numbers are going to go first. Ties are broken by a little token that gets shuffled back and forth between the 2 teams. And you're trying to move. You've got move cards. You've got push cards that can shove the opponents around, move them 2 spaces away from you, and they will drop the flag if they're carrying it. There's also some special action cards, like I mentioned, jumping, or somebody's got a cat they can use. One guy has a pool cue. He can carom characters around on each other. And you always get the cards back, but the tokens you don't get back until you play that reset number 7 token. You continue like this until somebody manages to win. It's got that programmed robo-rally sort of feel, but also a team aspect, because you can discuss, I'll defend the goal if you try and go for a score over there. There's a little bit of bluffing. I know that he's going to try and grab the flag here, so I can try and counter that move. But if he doesn't do that, maybe I'm way over on the other side of the board while he's doing something else. But you can also change things on the fly, because you could end up moving your defender instead of your main guy as the needs of the board allow. So there's some flexibility in addition to the programming. I found this to be pretty interesting. It was fun. It moved quickly. I thought we had it in the bag as I was, smoking on my opponent. I had a nice move where I was going to jump over the flag and grab it and take it over the line. And somebody gave my guy the slip on the other end of the board and just had a straight run to the end and managed to do it faster than I could do my little move. It was neat, and we only played through a few of the characters. There's plenty of roles. There's also an expansion pack already that has more roles. That pool cue guy is in the expansion pack. Neat. I like the theme. I think they executed it well. I'd like to see the rules a little clearer. There's some, just specific situations about pushing and pulling and the way some of them work that I'd like to see clarified. But other than that, it's a pretty solid game. Flag Dash gets a thumbs up from me.
Now, I will say, if there's one negative about the game, it's the components are merely okay.
They're not bad. They're just not fantastic. The upgrade pack is kind of cool because it gives you like a stand to put the flag in, some wooden tokens that replace some of the cardboard ones.
Okay. What? Okay, this is throwing me off a bit. What is there instead of the wooden? I only have wooden stuff.
The energy tokens. They're
No. Oh, you're not talking about the characters.
Right. No, the characters are wooden.
Oh, okay.
They're wooden meeples that have a hole drilled in them so you can stick the flag in them when they're carrying the flag, which is kind of cool.
It's kind of cool. It looks like a homemade game. And that's fine. It's just that in this day of great games, I don't know. It's okay.
Yeah, I feel like this is the sort of small press game that can get a company noticed, though. This is a starter game for a company.
I just wanted to throw that out there. That's the one thing that I'm not super pleased on with this, but I do like it. Now, going to the other end of the extreme when it comes to components, let's talk about Masmorra.
Okay.
This is from Cool Mini or Not. This is based in their Arcadia Quest universe, and in fact, it has characters for Arcadia Quest. The characters you use in this dungeon crawl game, they provided cards for them for Arcadia Quest, which, incidentally, I do not like. Fantasy Flight did this one time, and it really irritated me where they had a Dungeon Quest, which was an awful game. And the characters in Dungeon Quest, they gave them cards that you could use them in Descent. So I can say, all right, I'm going to keep this game I hate on my shelf so that I can keep these characters for Descent, or I could take them out of this game and stick them in Descent, in which case I have an incomplete game. It's very annoying. I mean, it initially sounds cool. It's like you can use these characters in multiple games. But if I don't want to, and I just want them for, let's say, the one game, I have to buy a whole game to get them. I don't really care that much because I'm not a completionist. So
right. It sounds like you really don't care about this other game. You could just stick those guys in Descent.
Yes, but I don't want to throw that other game away.
Okay, but you said it was not good.
Okay, just so it could be clear. Well, I'm talking about Dungeon Quest at this point. Right, but I didn't want to throw a whole game away. Like, if I don't like a game, I get rid of it. I take them Dice Tower Con and we sum up the thing there, or someone else in my group takes it. Then that way they have a complete game. But if I take the characters out, I don't have a complete game.
I get it. Yeah, okay.
So I don't mind if companies do that, but then you need to make, like, maybe the figures available somewhere else. And maybe they'll do this for this game. I don't know. Anyway, so that some people are going to like that. I don't dislike Masmorra. I think Masmorra is good, if a bit generic. In Masmorra, you're going through a dungeon and you're trying to beat up monsters and get experience points, and whoever gets experience points first wins, or you can play it cooperatively, which is probably a little better than the other way. Because the other way, it's a little bit cutthroat cavern style, like, I'm going to go beat up monsters, and I'm going to trip you on the way as you try to do it also. The monsters, and this is maybe the cool feature of the game, but not something I like. The monsters are dice. Now, I like dice, the Dice Tower. We think dice are good.
Sure we do.
But in this game, apparently, dice are evil. This is so that when you walk in a room, you're like, oh, there's a normal monster there. Roll the die. Oh, it's a goblin. And I get it, okay? I get how that works and everything, but I would much prefer the monsters to have been miniatures. There's less, I don't know, it just, I know some people are like, get over it. I have a hard time getting over it. I didn't like that. I also, I like the actual gameplay is like Yahtzee style. You roll some dice, you can re-roll the dice, and then you take the dice, and those are the actions you have. That works well. And the monsters are pretty much the same monsters from Arcadia Quest, and then you got some special actions where you can change dice into other things. That's usually what your action will let you do. I'll change a sword action into 2 swords or whatever. And you're basically trying to, the dice that you roll will let you move, or they'll let you do an attack or a ranged attack or heal yourself. And it's very, very basic game, very generic dungeon-y game. And the board is good, and the miniatures that are in the game for the heroes are very well done. It's a well-produced game, and I like it. But I don't love it. It's like a 6 out of 10 for me. It's nothing that I would play over Descent or Star Wars Imperial Assault. And I mean, really, it's in the same kind of category as those. It's lighter and faster, but it's not like Arcadia Quest. It's different than Arcadia Quest. Arcadia Quest is all about hurting other players directly. It's more like a tactical fight combat style game. And I love Arcadia Quest. This one was good, but I I wouldn't go out of my way to get it. That's Masmorra.
You mentioned Cutthroat Caverns right there, and this next game is a little bit like that. It's got that flavor. This is called Dungeon Busters. It's a game from Mayday Games. It's basically a
call
Dungeon Busters.
Doesn't have the same ring.
No, not really. It's a card game. You are working your way through a dungeon. There's different levels, 1, 2, and 3. And as a team, you're going to be trying to knock out various beasts. And you flip up a card, and this is the guy you have to defeat. It needs, 8 hit points to defeat. And you have a hand of cards. I think it's 6 cards. They're all numbered. Everyone has the same set, except if you're playing with the advanced variant, each player has a special card that, if they're the ranger, they have a specific number 2 card that does some sort of effect. But basically, you've all got the same hand, and you all place face down 1 card. And you can discuss all you want. Well, I'm going to play a 4 right here, so you guys can play accordingly. Anybody that plays the same value as somebody else, those values are negated. Those will not count toward the total. So it's got a little bit of a get bit aspect, which is also by Mayday Games. Anyway, you total up what you are using, the unique values, and if you manage to defeat the bad guy, whoever played the lowest of those cards gets first, whatever the treasure is listed in the first slot on that card. There's always 1 set of treasure listed, but there might be 2 or even 3. The lowest, however, is the one that's going to get that first treasure chest. The next highest is going to get the next treasure chest, and if there's a third one, it'll be the next one after that gets those treasures. Whoever played the highest card gets the monster card itself as sort of a tiebreaker near the end of the game. You're trying to collect sets of these gems. There's 3 colors, red, yellow, and blue, and each set is worth a certain number of points. Whoever has the most of a particular color gets a certain number of points. Each gem itself is worth a number of points. And and what happens if you lose? If you lose the battle, then whoever played the lowest card has to pay all of their most gems. So if I had 4 yellows and 2 blues and 2 reds, I'd have to give all 4 of those yellows into a central pot that then can be acquired by the other players throughout the course of the game. So if we fail, whoever did the worst job is going to pay up. I think this game needs to be played a little more cutthroat than what we were playing. If you play this straight up co-op, then yeah, it's not going to work. You have to be a little nefarious in saying, I'm going to throw out a 5 on this one, and then play either above or below that to mess up what the group is doing. Maybe be willing to lose a round as long as you're not the one that's going to be paying up. There's a lot of opportunity for the manipulation of that sort of thing. And I think in order to see that, you need to be playing with the higher player count. I think it plays up to 5, 3 to 5. And we played at 3. It was fun. It was light. It certainly moved quickly. But I don't think its full potential was realized playing with 3 and playing as cooperatively as we were. You sort of need to play with more so that you have the potential of still winning, but still being a little nefarious and negating a couple of values. With only 3, if we negated a value, if 2 of us were knocked out of the running, then the one person was going to fail. And that didn't quite work as well. So I'm not super positive on Dungeon Busters, but it is a light, simple game that has potential to be a little nasty. And I think I need to try it with a larger group to see that potential flower in the dungeon. Dungeon Busters.
I've not played this one yet, so I'm not sure what to say.
Play it with 5.
Yeah, these kind of games always seem better with more players. All right. Well, a game that has almost the same theme is New Bedford. I'm working on my segues. Because yours was so much better. You're like, well, you just mentioned Cutthroat Caverns.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah. Mine's about whaling in the 18th century. I don't use, this game was a Kickstarter game. I don't normally follow games on Kickstarter at all, but this one, I had heard buzz about this one like crazy because people were like infuriated that it had a whaling theme. When it was originally, which kind of confused me because the game does not actually promote whaling. In fact, it shows you that whales, whaling kind of reduced the number of whales in existence. It also was a historical thing, blah, blah, blah. I get it. Whaling's wrong, but shooting people is okay. Anyhow, New Bedford is a worker placement game in which you are going to put workers out in buildings to get wood and brick and food and money. And then you can build more buildings, and then you have your own buildings. And if someone else goes to your building, they get a coin. They have to pay you a coin. So there's that, whole owning your own buildings. But the whole point of the game is to build boats and send them out to the sea. And when you send them out to the sea, you'll be pulling tiles from a bag, and there will be whales. Some of the whales are better than other whales. And then different players you'll take turns. Whoever's the farthest out to sea gets first crack at what whale they want from the ones pulled from the bag. Although there's a lot of empty water tokens in the bag also. So these whales, you'll get them and load them up on your ships. And then when the ship comes back into shore, you have to buy the whale to keep it yourself for victory points at the end of the game. Or you sell it, which is, gets you some money, but let someone else buy it then, and they might get those victory points at the end of the game. You want to buy the whales yourself. That's a hint. The game is good. It's very fun. It's a worker placement game, pretty solid, easy. There's different buildings. At the end of the game, you get points from whales, from different buildings that you've built. And, it kind of ramps up because more and more buildings get built. There's more and more cool places to put your workers. I like it a lot. But, and I feel like I've been saying but a lot, and I will continue to say this, I feel like they cut a third of the game off and packaged it in an expansion. Because there is a 5-player expansion for New Bedford. And in that expansion comes a lot of extra buildings. Now, if you play the 4-player game in New Bedford straight out of the box, you use every building in the game. But there's like another 20 buildings in this expansion which allow you to use all different buildings. So each game you could have random buildings, which I think is a lot better. It adds a lot to the game. It also adds some cards that you can draw. And it adds a 5th player, which actually doesn't slow the game down at all. It's not a bad idea at all to add a 5th player. And I don't know why all that just wasn't included in one box. Now, I know that they were trying to shove everything in this tiny little box. I would have preferred it to come in a bigger box. That's my only question, because without the expansion, it's a good game. With the expansion, it's a very good game. So I do like it, though. I mean, and probably it's not hard to get them both. But then if you get them both, because the boxes are so small, you still have to keep the expansion stuff in its own box. I really don't like that. I like being able to keep everything in one box. So this is again, the game is very good. It's a good worker placement game. The theme is strong. I like the pulling tiles from a bag and placing workers. I just wish the expansion had been included. That's New Bedford.
Last for me is Backyard Builders Treehouse. This is a family game from Crash of Games. It's let's see, who is this? David Short is the designer, but it's got art by Vincent Dutrait, which, Tom, I know you really like this guy.
He's probably my favorite artist currently.
You are building a treehouse. You've got a bunch of square cards, and everybody has a base that they start with. And this is a drafting game. Each of the cards has 2 levels of the treehouse on it. They all have a color, and some cards have 2 different colors in the 2 levels, and some have the same color. And they all have numbers as well, from 2 to 4, and that's how many points they'll be worth at the end of the game. You have a hand of cards, and you will choose one of them to play in your treehouse and pass the rest around. The next player will then draw a new one to add to that hand, choose one of them to add to their treehouse, pass the remainder, and this continues around until everybody's played a certain number of cards. I want to say it's 6, but I don't remember. And then you total up points. You are trying to play the cards Uno style, so you either match color or match number from level to level as you lay out a new card. You can always flip the card over and play a gray 2, which matches anything. So you're always going to play a card. You never can't play something. But you're trying to match them up as best you can, because at the end of the game, you will get points for the numbers displaying on the levels, and you will also get possibly a bonus for matching up the longest string of a particular color. If you have the longest string of blue, and that's longer than anybody else's string, you're going to get bonus points. And that's about it. This is a 6+ game, so it's designed to be played with younger kids. My kids really did like it. It was certainly easy to grasp. It played very fast. I don't know if I saw a tremendous amount of depth there, but yeah, I think it's there. And when it's done, I mentioned the art style, you have this very storybook-like structure that you've put together with cute little illustrations. The kids are all doing some sort of activities. They're playing with squirrels or building an aquarium or just dreaming, sitting out the window. It looks like a kid's storybook, which is really, really cool. So for an introduction to drafting games, this is certainly worth a look. My kids did enjoy it. Backyard Builders Treehouse from Crash of Games.
Right. The only this is one of several Treehouse games that exist at this point in time.
It is true. There's another small box card game. It is called The Best Treehouse Ever.
Right. I for building a treehouse, I actually think I like that one better. I have Backyard Builders Treehouse, except mine is called Yardmaster Express.
Ah, yes, I did see that.
Right. It's the same game. It's just that the train theme, it is what it is.
Yes.
And so I know that when they took it over to, I believe Backyard Builders Treehouse was printed by Yellow in France. So that is, I think I think I might have that copy myself. But yes, Vincent Dutrait is just like magic. When he touches stuff, it's his stuff just looks good. You don't even care if you're winning or not, like with a game like this, because you're like, I don't know if I won, but I built a pretty cool treehouse.
Yeah, it looks lovely.
All right, let me talk about my last game for today is Let Them Eat Cake.
Oh, I want to hear about this one because it has a guillotine in it.
It has cake in it.
It has a pawn guillotine.
That's true, but it has cake, and that is priorities, Eric. So the Let Them Eat Cake is a game that's kind of about the French Revolution. It's about collecting 40 cakes in this game. And the cards, there's like cards with numbers of cakes on that go up. There's like 14 cake on a card. So you have this pile of cakes and generals, and you then have a card for each other player in the game. Each player has a color, and so you have a card for each other player. And then each round is a series of elections.
Yes.
So you will vote each round multiple times. And so you'll play a card for the person you're voting for. You have a number of pawns in front of you. That's how much your votes are worth. So you start with 3 pawns. Your votes are worth 3. You flip the card over. Whoever gets the most votes wins. And you can't play that player's card again until you've played all the cards from your hand. So the first part of each round, you vote on who the people's hero is, or I forget what it's called. Some leader, and you get to break ties. That's your special ability. Then whoever has the fewest medals of honor, and when you're the people's hero, you get a medal of honor, and you can take a medal of honor from other people, and there's ways to lose medal of honors. Whoever has the fewest medal of honors has to put one of their pawns up on this guillotine. It's a little cardboard guillotine, and the pawn lays its head on the edge.
Yeah.
So then that's not a vote unless it's a tie. Then you vote. Then you vote on who the guillotine operator is, and whoever wins that vote gets to decide whether they're going to kill the pawn, in which case they do not chop the head off. They just flick it into this basket in the bottom.
Right.
Which is so much better. Or they can decide to show mercy. If they show mercy, that's fine. Then the pawn doesn't die, but they also lose a medal of honor for not,
doing their job.
Happy.
Yeah.
Then there's the secretary. You vote on the secretary. Then the secretary turns over a card for each player and decides who gets what cards. So Eric, you get the 2 cake card, and Tom gets the 14 cake card.
Yeah.
And then we vote on who the cake tester is.
Food tester, yeah.
The food tester, and that's Eric. And then Eric decides whether he's going to throw away all the cakes or let people have them.
Oh,
and
we're going to throw away all the cakes.
That's right. Eric says, that's garbage. You gave me a 2 cake. No. So he throws all the cakes away. But then he would lose a medal for, again, not doing his job. He's supposed to be a yes man. However, let's say Susan wins that category, so she decides to let us keep our cakes. Ha, 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 ha. So I put my 14 cake in my pile. Eric says, let them eat cake, and gives his cake back to the people and gets a medal of honor for doing so. And you just keep doing this over and over and over and over and over again until someone gets 40 cakes. And you can have negotiations, obviously, and the game is not going to work unless you have those negotiations. Otherwise, it's pretty boring. And there's general cards in the game. You get a general card every time one of your guys is executed, but you also can get them from the cake pile. And you can use a general to force a revote. You can use 2 generals to take a piece of cake, regardless of who the secretary gives it to. And you can use 3 generals to say, I'm deciding how this vote is going to happen, period. The game itself is fine. It's a funny theme. It's French Revolution is not a funny thing, but the cake part is funny. It's fun negotiation. It's probably better with more players. And it's the tiniest bit longer than it should be because you do vote and vote and vote. But it ends, I think, right about the time it should. So I like it. I don't love it. There's better voting games out there. This is my theme for the day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good. And Osprey's quality just keeps getting better with each successive game they do.
Yeah.
So that's let them eat cake.
Now, I don't remember if the guillotine...
How do you know so much about this game anyway?
I have a copy. I just haven't played it yet.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember. I tried assembling the guillotine and sticking it in the box assembled. Are you able to do that, or do you have to take it apart each time?
I don't. I took mine apart, but I didn't try to put it in. I'm thinking it might not have fit in.
I think it's just a little too thick and doesn't fit in the box, which is a
hard
shame.
To put together, though,
because there's a lot of empty space in the box otherwise.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't think this one's that big of a deal. Okay, well, folks, if we take a look at the hottest games on Board Game Geek, in the top 20, Seven Wonders Duel now sits. Why is that? Let's go to Board Game Gumbo.
Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back with more Louisiana flavor. In Life on the Mississippi, Mark Twain marveled at a Louisiana word he heard very frequently called lagniappe. He called it something thrown in for good measure, and compared it to the 13th donut in the baker's dozen. That brings me to my next topic. In terms of expansions to our favorite games, when is enough enough? Well, today we're going to figure out together whether enough is enough when it comes to Antoine Baz's top-rated civ building game, Seven Wonders. The original Seven Wonders is a card drafting game similar to Fairy Tale, Sushi Go, or Magic the Gathering draft-style games. But in Seven Wonders, the theme is a competition among up to 7 players to score the most points as you build the ancient Seven Wonders. Players take turns drafting their civilization out of a shared set of cards. The player with the most victory points at the end of 3 ages wins. Antoine Baza has released some expansions for the game, but there was one area he did not address until 2015. Look, Seven Wonders is an awesome game. It's one of my favorites to play. But the 2-player variant, well, it really wasn't all that fun. But now, Baza's back with his fellow game designer Bruno Cathala, that's right, the designer of Shadows over Camelot and 5 Tribes. And the two of them have designed a 2-player version of Seven Wonders that is delicious magic in a tiny box. I'm talking about the 2015 release from Repo Productions, Seven Wonders Duel. In Seven Wonders Duel, Cathala created a unique pyramid building structure for each age, so the shared hands in each of 3 ages are laid out in front of both players instead of in hidden hands. Of course, some of the rows of cards are face up, and you can make a play or a plan for how to get them, and some are face down, so it's a surprise to you when they turn over. It plays very similar to Seven Wonders in the respect of drawing the resources, building the buildings, and getting victory points, but they made some subtle tweaks to a few areas. For instance, there's a military track where each military card moves the cool little plastic shield piece one way or the other towards the players depending upon the number of shields on the card played. If one of the players can move it all the way to the other side of the track, then that player has captured the other player's city, and the game is over. They also changed up the way science buildings are scored, and introduced a randomized set of bonus cards that can really change your strategy of building your civilization. And collecting science cards can even give you an automatic win. In the games I've played so far, money has been tight early in the game, leading to a lot of tough choices whether to buy a card or wait for that cheaper one down the road. So let's turn back to the big question. Is enough enough in the case of Seven Wonders? Do we really need a little lagniappe for Seven Wonders after all those well-received expansions? Absolutely. Seven Wonders Duel is not only a great addition to the Seven Wonders family, it can stand up on its own as a great game. In fact, I argue Duel is actually a better game than regular Seven Wonders. I just wish there was a way to meld the mechanics from Duel into classic Seven Wonders. If you like 2-player games, or you like Seven Wonders but can't always get that big game group together, then Seven Wonders Duel is for you. Better rules, better gameplay, great components, even a tidy little insert. Seven Wonders Duel is the complete package. So head out to your friendly local game store and ask for a little lagniappe. Seven Wonders Duel. Until next time, laissez le bon temps rouler.
And now, another tale of board gaming horror.
Oh my, that's horrific.
Gather round, children. I decided to try Meetup and hold a game night. I had been to a few meetups before, but didn't have the space or the table to host my own. Luckily, my wife and I had just bought new furniture. A nice big table with nice chairs. It was a good setup for a big board game where everyone could have plenty of room to play without feeling crowded. My wife is the homemaker who supports my hobbies. As long as the place was clean, I could do whatever I wanted. So I posted a meetup. Pretty quickly, a lot of people joined the group, and we were going to host our first event. It was a motley crew of attendees. The funny guy, the awkward guy. One guy came with a sword. Another dude who kept stroking his larynx while only talking towards the floor. Nonetheless, people were pretty much nice and considerate. Some people were offering to take their shoes off at the door, but I didn't care as long as they were comfortable. So some people wore shoes, others didn't. But one guy named Bob not only took off his shoes, but also his socks, and laid them on the mat by the door. Okay, whatever. I made sure to have food and drinks for everyone, but most people brought snacks as well. Bob didn't seem to have anything. Again, didn't care. I bought more than enough for everyone and was happy to provide. As the night went on, we were playing, laughing, having a good time. But I was slightly embarrassed because this waft of trash kept coming through. I was hoping I was the only one who could smell it. I checked the trash, but it had nothing in it. The litter box was clear. My wife is a meticulous cleaner, so I really had no idea where it was coming from. So as we were playing, I noticed my cards are suddenly greasy. Pretzels? Maybe. Then I noticed our new friend, Bob, was eating some kind of stinky soft cheese, holding a clump of it in his hand. I said, "Oh, did you bring cheese?" He said, "Yeah. And bacon. Would you like some?" That's when my buddy Will laughed out loud and said, "You brought bacon?" And Bob earnestly said yes, and proceeded to pull 2 more slices of bacon out from his pocket and offer it to Will. Unwrapped bacon, probably with fuzz stuck in it. He kept the bacon and cheese in the same pocket. I know, because a clump fell out onto our floor during the bacon offering. Bob was a large man. When he reached to pick up the fallen cheese, he shifted hard and fast in the chair, and we all heard a loud crack. He had broken our brand-new chair, cracking the back leg. He looked up at me without expression, probably for 10 seconds straight. As a group, we weren't sure how to react to the mix of cheese, bacon, and broken chair. I said no worries, although I was kind of in disbelief. It was with that he said, "I don't have a job. I live with my mom and can't pay for a new one. I'm going to grab my socks and go." Something to that effect. He then put the bacon and cheese back in his pocket and left. It probably took a week for the floor to stop smelling like cheese. I never crossed paths with Bob, nor never hosted again. According to my buddy, Will, Bruce broke a chair at... Nope. According to my buddy, Will, Bob broke a chair at someone else's house, too. And the sword guy was banned from yet another house because he was dragging it on the floor and scratched some new hardwood.
Okay, well, I'm going to jump in right away here. Before we get chewed out, we're not condoning anything in this story. Mostly because, here's the thing. The person telling the story says he never hosted again, and I find that unfortunate. I mean, when you have people at your house, you're going to have odd things happen, all right? And I feel really bad for Bob here, in a sense, because, sure, what he did was awkward and odd. But
he did offer the bacon to his friends.
Well, yes, there's that. But what I mean is, again, awkward and odd people you're going to run into them in life. And so sometimes they just need to have that slowly be taught what some of the rules of interacting with other people are in a friendly way. And in this case, yeah, the guy broke a chair, which is not fantastic, but at the same time, this is not, it is what it is. What do you do in that situation? Imagine you were the person who broke the chair. That's an incredibly awkward thing. You're going to feel bad.
Yes.
I was in Korea one time, and we were visiting Seoul, and we went to a church there, and the pastor invited us over for dinner afterwards at his house, and I got a whole plate full of food because I get a whole plate full of food, and I was walking out, and I just dropped the plate. I was trying to do something with one hand and dropped the whole plate, and the plate just shattered, and the food went everywhere. And, they said, don't worry about it. And you know what? In their case, I would have also said, don't worry about it. I would have done everything they did, and yet I could never think about them without thinking about the fact that I broke that plate of food. I don't know if that plate was like a matching plate or something, but, it just makes you feel horrible.
Right.
So I could see in this instance why this guy might feel horrible, especially since this guy never hosted again.
Yep.
So now the sword guy, that's different, I think. I would say that's a really cool sword, but, just we ask that you be careful about the floor.
Can we leave it with the shoes and socks by the door?
Right, and we probably, we may have a no weapons policy.
Yes.
Because of whatever. It's pretty easy to come up with a policy, like, we got kids here, blah, 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 blah.
I can honestly say that has never come up in the group meetings that we've had for my game group. No weapons.
I can't say that, actually.
Okay, yeah, all right.
But I can say that I have to deal with all sorts of strange and unusual people, and sometimes I have to deal with them at meetups. Now, it's a little bit harder when the meetup is not at your house. When it's at your house, you have full authority, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you can just be kind and say, we don't do whatever this is at our house here. If you don't want the guy bringing cheese and bacon, you can say, listen, don't worry about it. Because we're hosting, we would like to provide the food or whatever.
There you go.
And then you don't have that problem anymore. Say, oh, you like cheese? You know what? Next time I'll make sure we have some cheese.
Yes.
Something along those lines, I think. I just recently had to kindly ask someone in my group to not play music on their cell phone so very loud. And that's kind of an awkward thing, but this person is learning, and I want them to keep coming back, and they were one of those people who did not realize that their music was, kind of irritating the tables around them. And there's all sorts of things that you don't always realize will irritate those around you, and sometimes you have to be told. One area that's a big one is with kids. Your kids might bother other people, or other people will have kids that bother you. And both groups need to learn to deal with that. So if you're letting your kids just run all over the place and cause all kinds of problems, well, you need to kind of know that some people are going to be really irritated by that. But if, like, the sight of a kid or hearing a kid, make noise bothers you, you also need to kind of, it all depends on what the host is allowing, too. So I don't know where I'm going with this, this rant. I think it's easy to make fun of people.
Yes.
And we do make fun of people on our show occasionally. And this person's name, by the way, is not Bob.
No.
But I just think that we also have to realize that some of these people, their only friends are at the gaming meetup. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Now for tank warfare!
Here he comes, here's Mark Zielinski. He's got his own theme song. Mark Zielinski, everyone!
Hey everyone, it's Mark Zielinski, and I am sitting here with David Heath, and we're talking Lock and Load Publishing. And, David, one of the things I'm excited about you taking over the company for is there was a great game that the previous owner put out called Tank on Tank. Yep. And I'm going to clean this up a little bit. It had the worst box I've ever seen published outside of Hasbro, and the counters were thin, and the map was bendy. And you have republished this, in a beautiful box with a larger map, beautiful counters, and you priced it right for what's in the box. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Tank on Tank?
Well, Tank on Tank is a Peter Bogassarian design. It's one of my favorite games, actually. It's a rock'em sock'em tank battle game, basically. One's on the east front, one's on the west front. You got 1-inch thick counters now, full color maps. We actually put a winter map in the backside because there's no reason not to put something there. And we have a designer who's working on 2 add-on packs, one for the east front, one for the west front, which will use some of those winter maps. So just to give you some more value for your money. It was a great system. We added a design your own scenario point system so you can play battles outside of the scenario set. And there's a solitaire system in there now, too.
That's fantastic. So that's all in the box then?
All in the box.
All in the box. I like that, David. I like that. And you know what the best thing about this is, guys? This is for ages 10 and up, and it's a quick 20-minute game. And I really enjoyed this game, but it was so bad, and I put it in a Ziploc bag, and it got destroyed on Boy Scout campouts and stuff. It's in a beautiful box now. And the other thing was I just had West Front, and David alluded to it. Now we have the East Front.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little about the East Front, what the difference is between the two games?
Well, the East Front, obviously you got the Soviet and the German forces, but you also now have Italians and I believe it's Hungarians. I can't remember right now. The maps are twice the size now. Okay, same thing. We did back and front. Okay, and we added the point system to this. Sean Gillinder, who's doing the add-on packs, I'm hoping he makes one special scenario where the U.S. forces will fight the Soviet forces with the German, just a little throw-off there. But it's a really great system. We've talked to Peter about possibly doing North Africa next, but we're going to see. We're going to see. But right now, there's add-ons coming out for it. And if you're really into it, there's a digital version coming out as well.
Oh, is that going to be on iOS, iPad?
It's going to be on Mac, PC, and iOS.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So I don't know if it'll work on the iPhone, if it's the maps, but I think Joe is doing it for us, and Joe said, it'll be on the iPhone as well.
That'll be fantastic. And like I said, this, and you know me, I'm always big into introductory war games because I think it's a great way to get people in general and especially kids into wargaming and having fun. I cannot more highly recommend these two games. In particular, West Front. I haven't played East Front, but I'm sure it's the exact same. I love these. I would certainly go pick them up. And like I said, they are gamer quality now, guys. You don't have to worry about the cheap box. And the price was way more than what you should have paid for what you got. These are value price now.
Actual West Front game is $5 cheaper than the original price of the game was. And this is I think this is $35 and that's $30. So East Front's $35 and Tank and Tank is $30.
And I'll tell you what, guys, it's worth the $30. I mean, the beautiful production values. And David, again, I'm going to do an extended interview with you. We're going to talk more about Lock and Load Publishing and what you're doing with the company. But I just wanted to tell people how excited it was. So when I saw this at Origins, I just got so excited. So
thank you very much. I'm glad you're appreciating the work.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm at a loss for words, and that doesn't happen to me too often, David, let me tell you. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us here on another Origins interview. And until next time, take care.
Hey, we got that guy who asked the 16 questions.
Oh, he's back.
All right. Well, we didn't finish all of them. So let's get started. Are you ready?
Sure.
Boom, 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 boom. He says it seems that there are more and more game universes popping up where multiple games will come out that are very different but supposedly connected. And he's talking about things like the Arkham Horror universe or like the Tempest line that AEG put out. Or Red Raven Games, I think, are all in the same universe.
They look that way, certainly.
I believe Ryan Lockett has said that they're all in the same universe.
Cool.
Anyway, he says, are there any of these universes that does not include Magic the Gathering or D&D? Which I don't think counts because those universes are all basically one game anyway. They do a good job of universe building throughout their games. That's a good question. Because
the Manhattan Project universe is a very diverse universe.
Oh, dude, that joke is now finished.
I'm happy to have been the last one to use it.
I think the Tempest universe was a really cool idea, and it probably would have helped if they had picked a less boring universe.
Yeah, it was just sort of generic.
It really was. All I know is that there was a princess who was getting love letters.
Yeah. And then there were other games.
Well, right, but the princess was in, like, the first game, and, yeah, the games didn't... You didn't get to know these people. They did not have names. I think the best one might be, in my opinion, might be Terranoth because of Runebound and Descent, and but even that one's not that strong. Because when I meet the character from one, I'm like, oh, is this the person with that pointy spear from this game?
What about the Twilight Imperium universe?
Oh, even less so. I mean, it only includes Twilight Imperium and Rex. So that's not strong. That's only 2 games. I don't think that one counts. I mean, there's obviously some universes that are very well defined in any RPG. I'm not counting those. And I guess Arkham Horror, Eldritch Horror, Mansions of Madness are the same people throughout those games. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. And the Red Raven ones, you can tell they're kind of in the same universe, but that universe is just, I don't know that it's like, ooh, if I play a game, I know what universe this is in.
On a related question, are there any games that are currently out that you would like to have a universe built around them? I would perhaps like to see something built around Scythe and Cry Havoc.
Well, the Scythe universe is pretty cool. I wouldn't mind seeing more games set in that universe. That alternate early 1900s with giant mechs and farmers. I really like that universe.
How about the Spectre Ops? They're sort of doing that a little bit. They've thematically connected Spectre Ops with Dead of Winter, as well as Volt. They're technically connected.
They are?
Yeah, Raxon Pharmaceuticals, which is the facility you're infiltrating, is the company that made the drug that made the zombies in Dead of Winter.
That's a sentence, Eric.
Oh, I think it's a vast world.
No, what I mean is that's like a sentence connecting those 2 games.
Sure. It's a thread.
Yeah, it's not the same universe, though. It's a different time period. Well, how does Volt fit in?
They're on the board of Spectre Ops. One of the sections you can go through is a bunch of Volt bots. They're in charging stations.
All right.
It's true. There's a story in there somewhere.
Maybe. This is like that theory on the internet that tries to connect every Pixar movie.
Yes. Makes a lot of sense, I'm telling you.
Balderdash. All right. He says, in the past 10 years, we've seen a radical uptick in the number of games published each year, as well as the number of people identify with our hobby. Which of these 2 trends do you see slowing down first? I'm skipping this question. I'm seriously skipping this. Go to the next one. I'm not going to keep answering these when will the bubble burst questions.
Okay.
Just shut up and enjoy the ride.
Stop being so negative.
I'm so tired of that question.
A couple years ago, you put out a video of games that murdered other games. That's another happy question. There seem to be several games like this in recent years. Caverna kills Agricola. Libertalia kills Citadels. Blood Rage kills Fire and Axe, etc. Are there any games that you want to be murdered by a new but similar up-and-comer? Are there any games that you expect to be killed because their mechanics are getting dated? Are there any games that you would add to your list now? Enough for a new top 10, maybe?
Maybe. That's my answer.
I like the concept of I like this game, but I really wish another game would come along and smack it down.
Well, actually, though, I have been thinking about that. That's not a bad idea for a top 10, because I was just thinking about that with Duel of Ages. I really like Duel of Ages, but I'd love to see a nice new streamlined version of it. Or
you mean
Kingmaker.
After the other streamlined version of it?
Huh?
You mean after Duel of Ages 2, which supposedly streamlined it?
Duel of Ages 2 did not streamline Duel of Ages.
Oh, okay.
That's a thing I'll be talking about on Board Game Breakfast next Monday, about how they redesigned Duel of Ages for the fans of the game, which for the fans of the game is amazing. And for everybody else is like, what?
They alienated even more.
I think so. Let's see here. He just said on YouTube that we passed the 77 million view mark, which, again, dates where this question came from, because we are now past the 80 million mark.
Nice.
He says that our most viewed video is the top 10 essential games every gamer should own. And I said that I would remake that video when it reaches 1 million views, which he thinks will be around the end of the year. By the way, I'm noticing here that he's fitting multiple questions into each of these questions.
He said this was only 16 questions, but it's a lot more than that.
I feel a lie. All right. Anyway, he says, are there any other top 10 essential lists that you would make? Top 10 essential games for new gamers, top 10 essential games for parents, top 10 essential games for college students. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, that sort of sounds like a top 10 just in general. He's looking for the essential label. It's like the elite top 10 list.
Moving on. We're not doing a good job answering these questions.
That's just a chuckle from Tom on that one. Speaking of family games, it seems to me that more and more family games are coming out with a basic set of rules for easy gameplay and additional gamer rules to make it more challenging. I have yet to come across one of these where both the versions are enjoyable. Either the family rules don't work with my kids, or the gamer rules are not fun for us parents. Do you know of any games that do this well? Do you think that this is a good trend that companies should continue?
Oh, definitely, yes. I think companies should continue this. Good example for me would be Flashpoint Fire Rescue. The family version's pretty simple. Get in and rescue the people. Then the advanced version adds in the special powers that each firefighter has. And with gamers, I would never play the regular version. But with my family, I played the regular version and it worked really well. Agricola has a good family version. Takes out all the cards, although they now have a family edition of Agricola.
Right, which I think you're talking about next week.
Yeah, I am. So they separated them out. But I think both versions work with their intended audiences. Those are two I can think of off the top of my head. And I know there's more. And I know that I usually get burned when I'm going through the game. I'm like, oh, they have the family version and the advanced version. Maybe we should do the advanced version? I don't know, guys. What do you think?
That's always a tough decision for me. Like, when I first open the box, I see there are two, and I'll have to really read through both versions. And because sometimes it's just as simple, you add a couple of cards into the mix. And, anybody who's played plenty of games can understand that. But sometimes there are significant mechanical additions and changes, and the game works totally differently if you're going to play the full version of the game. And they only tell you that after you've read through all of the basic rules. And it's like, well, let's play the... Oh, wait. Oh, my goodness. Look at all this stuff I have to change if I want to play the gamer version.
Yes. The only advice I can give you is if the game says epic version, do not play that one first.
Yes, avoid that.
Some of the modern designer editions are incredibly expensive and provide no extra gameplay, just nicer production, like Small World, Takinoko, and Tokaido. And you said that that in my review, I said game stores should put these games on display as a commercial for the game. I visit many game stores and I've never seen a deluxe game on display. And rarely expensive games like Caverna. Do you think it would be a good business move for publishers to give deep discounts on these items for stores to display? I do not think so. Because these games sell so well that they they sell them for like $300 or $400, and now they sell on eBay for thousands of dollars. So why would they give up that money? And then the stores would probably not want to do it because they'll say, well, I can't sell the nice edition. I want to sell the smaller edition.
Right, and then somebody playing with the nice edition would go, why doesn't the small edition look like this? This is amazing. I want this.
No, but I still would display it at my game store. I would, because I would want people to think my game store is amazing.
It's true. I don't think it's a bad idea, but I do think there's a limited number of these, super deluxe editions that really they make, and they know they can sell them for full price. So there's no need for them to discount them as a sales tool. They'll happily sell a discounted copy of the regular edition to be a display model.
Right.
Tom, Yomi was a favorite of yours for a while. In 2011, it was ranked number 12 on your top 100. In 2012, you ranked it number 13, and in 2013, it reached all the way to number 11. However, this game that was just outside of your top 10 completely disappeared from your top 100 in 2014 and 2015. What happened? Did a game replace it? Did you get tired of the mechanics? I've never played this game. Would you still recommend it?
Yeah, of course I'd still recommend it. For me, though, I played BattleCon, And so that one kind of slowly replaced it over time. It dropped off the top 100. It's still my top 200, though, which, again, is very high in my list of thousands and thousands of games that I have played.
Yeah.
It's just that I personally am not playing it as much anymore. That is all.
Sure.
All right.
Well, I could see that. I mean, it's such a specific game, with a very interesting point of view that I think that if you found another game that does that one-on-one combat thing better, then Yomi would fall farther than maybe another game would.
Possibly.
And with that insight, let's get to the top 10.
Oh, yeah, okay. And so let's move on to the top 10.
It's a Dice Tower Top 10!
The Dice Tower's Top 10 list is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. Cool Stuff Inc. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.
All right, folks, today we're talking about Push Your Luck, or sometimes people call it Press Your Luck.
I do.
Games. You call it Press Your Luck?
Well, because I like that game show we mentioned earlier in the show.
So I'm going to call it Push Your Luck. Our top 10 games in which you can say just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we play a game and there's any kind of Push Your Luck, I always look at Melody and she says, "You're not going to win." Because I have a hard time pushing my, not pushing my luck. I like to go down to the wire. In fact, there's one game in which I have never, ever not pushed my luck all the way to the end. That game may be on Eric's list.
Excellent. I can't wait to talk about it.
All right, well, let's get started. What are our favorite games where you can push your luck?
Number 10.
We're going to start with a game from Mayday Games called Dead Man's Draw. There's a bunch of different suits. They're worth points, and you will flip them up one at a time. And you can continue flipping, but if you flip up a duplicate symbol, then you're going to bust that round. And some of the cards force you, if you get the Kraken, you have to continue flipping 2 more times, which of course raises the danger. If you stop in time, you get to collect these cards and put them in scoring piles, and you're trying to collect sets and get high-scoring cards of each of the different suits and affect your opponents and do other cool powers. Each of these suits has powers. But at its core, it's a push your luck. Do I take the risk of putting out a duplicate, or do I keep trying to draw and get more stuff? Dead Man's Draw, my number 10.
My number 10 is on Eric's list later on, so I will cheer for it then.
Number 9.
Number 9 is the classic racing game Formula D, or Formula Day, if you have the older version. You are pushing your luck when you change gears. If you upshift, you are taking the risk that you won't stop the right number of times on a particular curve and may therefore cause damage to your car. But it's so cool to go fast and roll the big dice. Formula D, my number 9.
My number 9 is higher on Eric's list. Smashing.
I'm loving the attitude, Tom.
Hey, these are good segues, man.
Number 8.
My number 8 was Tom's number 10, and that is Ra. What Tom was talking about is
shish kumbah.
You are pulling tiles, and near the end of a round, so you either pull a tile or you invoke Ra and create a bidding round, which will then auction off those tiles. But also near the end, as other people have spent their bidding tiles, and you may be the last one left, you can keep pulling and get stuff, unless you fill up that entire track with tiles, and then the round is going to end before you get stuff. So in that situation, people are chanting for the last Ra tile to come out before you get a chance to get your stuff and get your smorgasbord. And that's when everyone's yelling, Ra, 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 Ra. And they're hoping that you fail. And you got to push your luck because there's so many great tiles in there. There's so many great ones. Ra, my number 8.
Yep, I like Ra too. I agree with Eric there. It's just that Ra itself, as an auction game, it's just kind of collecting sets of tiles. But when that one person is left, I don't know, the game kind of ramps up for me to see that person fail. Unless it's me, in which case I better not fail.
Right.
My number 8.
Your number 8.
My number 8 is Escape. That's escape with an X instead, and stuck in it instead of an S. Escape, which is, I believe, by Rainer Knizia,
it is
his version of Eric's number 1. In this game, yeah, I know. I didn't say what your number 1 was. In this game, you roll dice, and you are trying to roll a high number. Although these are really funky dice. There's they have X's on one side, which counts as a 0, and one die has a 7 on it. So the highest number you can roll is a 76.
Yes.
You put them together. And so you roll these dice, and you can keep rolling if you don't like the number, but then if you roll an X, you get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And not only is that a push your luck, but there's also kind of a push your luck when you do roll the number. How high do you think other people will have that number? You know, do you think other people will go higher than you? How many points do you think that's worth, essentially? And you put that on the board. I really like those two aspects put together. This is a game that I don't think gets enough love. It's a lot of fun. That's Escape.
I'd like to see this one come back into print. This made my shortlist. It's probably in the low teens. Really a stellar game. And I used to pull it out a lot more often than I do, and I don't know why it hasn't hit the table more often, because it's pretty easy to understand, but it's quirky enough that it feels incredibly novel and interesting. I'd like to see this, in a new print run.
Number 7.
7 for me is Martian dice. This is my favorite of the a bunch of dice in a tube sort of genre, because there's zombie dice and there's like firefly dice. You roll the dice and or Dalek dice. You're rolling the dice, and you are trying to defeat the indigenous defenses of the planet while scoring cows, humans, and chickens. But if you don't have enough ray guns to defeat the tanks that the humans are sending on you, you're going to bust for that round. So you continue rolling. You can keep rolling as long as you bank a certain one cluster each round. You can do that. You have to bank something. But if you get overwhelmed, you're not going to score any points, and you're racing to 25. It's one of those style of games, but it's my favorite of the bunch. Martian dice, my number 7.
Yeah, I considered putting on zombie dice or something along that line, because it kind of takes this down to its purest form. In this, it's this kind of category. It's almost like a small subcategory of push your luck.
Yeah.
My number 7 is Infiltration, which is a game that really got a lot of buzz when it came out, and now is getting like nothing. Have you even heard of this game in the last 2 or 3 years?
Not really. I mean, I remember it vaguely, but I've never played it.
Well, Infiltration is designed by Donald X. Vaccarino. It's also set in the Android Netrunner universe. That's like two big, things that you would think would get a lot of buzz for a game, and it just did not. So anyway, in this one, you're breaking into this base together, and you're trying to get in there and get as much stuff and then get out of the base. And the farther you go in, it's like a more complicated version of another game that I believe is on at least one of our lists.
At least.
It's only on my list? That's not on Eric's list? Well, that's foolishness. Okay, well, it's higher. But the game that's higher on my list I like better because it's simpler. Infiltration has a lot more going on involved, but it's still a pretty neat game, and I would recommend you check it out. Infiltration.
Number 6.
My number 6 is my new hotness. It's the Ravens of 3 Sahasrari, which I talked about a few weeks ago.
I can't pronounce this, Eric.
3 Sahasrari.
3 Sahasrari?
Yeah, sounds good. This is the 2-player game from Osprey Games. You're trying to discover patterns in your opponent, or not your opponent, your teammates' face-down cards. But the pressure luck aspect comes in the fact that the Fifth player gets to draw as many cards as they want during their turn. And the more cards you draw, the more possibilities you'll have, the more patterns you can connect, the more options you give your partner as far as grabbing the card they need to complete their poem on the other side of the board. However, there are ravens in there, and if the ravens come out, they are going to start eating cards and removing them from the game, and if that happens early enough, you're not going to have those cards for later rounds. Not good. Also, if you push your luck too much, if you draw too many cards, you're going to run out of cards, and if you run out of cards, you also lose. So you're trying to find that balance between getting the cards you need, but risking the drawing of the nasty stuff too. The Ravens of 3 Sahasrari, my number 6.
My number 6 is The Adventurers, Temple of Shock. And this is a game in which you are trying to run out of a temple, but along the way, grab as much treasure as you want. And you know what? Stay in there as long as you want. Grab as much treasure as you want. Don't worry that the walls are closing in and might smush you, and that there's a boulder rolling after you. and that the floor is made of lava and you can only jump on the couches. Oh, wait, I'm mixing two things there. Okay, but don't mind all this stuff. Grab as much treasure as you want.
What could
I really
go
like
wrong?
this game. Right, that boulder just keeps coming and coming, and you're like, okay, just one more piece, and then I'll run. Love it. The Adventurers. Temple of Shock. It's out of print, hard to find. May come back in print someday. I'm just guessing maybe that I heard that somewhere as a rumor.
Okay.
Number 5.
My number 5 is going to show up on Tom's list in a bit, so I'll be here peeling off the plastic on these cards.
Yeah! My number 5 is Welcome to the Dungeon, which is a game I really like, and they're coming back with Welcome Back to the Dungeon. This is a push your luck game because all the players are pushing their luck together. Because there's an adventurer sitting in the middle of the table, like a paladin or a rogue or a mage or something. And then, so on your turn, you add a monster to this dungeon pile, or you take a piece of equipment away from that adventurer. Or you say, you know what, that pile and that amount of equipment with that adventurer, I can't go in with that guy, so I'm out. You're like, I think I might do it. I think so. And then you just you stay in until everyone drops out except one person. Then that person takes that equipment and must go through that pile of monsters and survive. A lot of fun. One of my favorite small little games. Welcome to the Dungeon.
I need to play this with more players. I played this with Mary Prasad at Origins one year, and it was fun, but I think it lacked some of the larger group dynamics with just a 2-player game.
Number 4.
My number 4 is Pandemic the Cure. This is the dice rolling variant of Pandemic, and you can, on your turn, continue rolling your dice as long as you want. You may have specific symbols that you really need in order to combat the diseases around the world. You can keep rolling. Go ahead. No problem. You can use a couple of dice and keep rolling. Go ahead. But if you roll that biohazard symbol, nasty things are going to happen. You've locked that die. You can't use it anymore. So do you really want to take that risk? You could just use the symbols you rolled the first time. But you really want to get a cure token or a vial to take samples. But you could just sail around on a boat. Or you could keep rolling. Pandemic the Cure, my number 4.
As a hint, if you do keep rolling, you get yelled at by the people you are playing with.
Yes, but this does combat the alpha gamer problem quite a bit. Because you don't know what those dice are going to do if you re-roll. Your opponent or your teammate can say, what do you think? Should I re-roll? Should I push for this particular symbol? And you're like, that's up to you. You're taking the risk, buddy. We're going to yell at you if you roll a biohazard, though. Tom?
Shut up, man. Hey, they're coming out with an expansion for this year.
I can't wait. I'm so excited about this at Essen. It's going to be the first thing I do. I'm going to be busy for the first hour at Essen. Sorry.
Okay, I don't think it's going to be the first thing you're going to do. But
yeah, probably not. All right, fine.
All right, my number 4 was Eric's number 5, and that's Mystic Vale. Now, Mystic Vale is it not the first deck builder to use this mechanism. That would be another game on Eric's list that's coming up. There's so many spoilers we're doing here.
I know, you're just ruining my list.
I am. But in Mystic Vale, you can flip over as many cards as you want. That's a lot of money you can have. But if you flip over too many of the corruption symbol, then you get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a fun little thing. I mean, it's not really that bad. Usually, I don't bust as much in this game as I would in other games where I push my luck because after a certain point, I'm like, yeah, I got enough. I don't need to keep drawing cards here. And you can also count your deck to some degree, so you know how much corruption you have in your deck. So you know what your percentages are each time. It's not like dice where I could go all the way.
Right.
No, you will fail at some point. So you should stop, but it's not. It's a good feature for the game. So that's Mystic Vale.
Yeah, what I like is that it actually fast forwards you to the very brink of failure. I mean, in many of these games, you're like draw. I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. Draw. Oh no, things are getting bad. Draw. Fine. And then eventually you get to the point where okay, now the next one's going to destroy me, but during other players' turns of Mystic Vale, you are setting up your draw to the point of failure. And so that your next draw of the nasty symbol is what's going to break you. And so then the nasty decision is right there from the very beginning of your turn. Have I drawn enough to do something cool, or do I press my luck at this moment? It immediately jumps to that decision point, which is kind of cool.
Number 3.
Number 3, Tom mentioned as his number 9, that is King of New York or King of Tokyo. How long do you stay in New York/Tokyo? Do you stay in for one more round? One more round? Because you need those points. It's worth a lot of points to stay in Tokyo. Just stay there and let everybody smack at you for a while. Maybe they won't get that many attack symbols. Or maybe they will. But you gotta stay. I love that decision in King of Tokyo and King of New York. My number 3.
I'll never forget that I died in 45 seconds my first game at King of Tokyo.
You made the wrong decision. You stayed too long.
Well, actually, one of the evolution cards for, I believe it's Kong, you can stay in. You have to stay in, but then you get some bonuses for doing so. It's worth it. It's worth it. Speaking of that, I didn't mention it in this show, but I did get a chance to play the new King of New York power-up expansion.
Really?
Yeah, that adds, it's the monsters of King of New York. It gives them evolution cards, just like it did for the original King of Tokyo monsters. Man. But it gives them 2 sets. One set for King of Tokyo and one set for King of New York.
What?
So you can bring your King of New York monsters into King of Tokyo.
I want to go there.
You do, and it's really fun. But that being said, I also agree with Eric. A lot of fun this game is. I had a family was over at our house last week. They were visiting, and they had some teenage boys. And I was like, hey, guys, let's try this King of Tokyo. We played it, I think, after like 2 minutes, they both were like, this game's amazing. It just works every time I pull it out. That's King of Tokyo. My number 3 is Incan Gold, or Diamant. In fact, this year at Essen, they're coming out with a new version of Diamant.
Ooh.
By Yellow, which is gorgeous, Eric.
Wow.
Now, it will not be available in America because the American rights are still owned by Eagle Griffin.
Oh,
and their
my.
version is less exciting to look at.
So this might be one to get at Essen?
I would recommend that myself. But yes, Diamant is a game where you push your luck. And what the great thing about Diamant is you literally could play with probably 500 people if you wanted to. You know, you would need a lot of pieces for that. But I'm saying you could play with a whole bunch of people at one time. It plays with, I think, 7. And it's really fun as you're just going through this temple and you decide to stay or go. That's it. One decision. But you just keep making that same decision over and over again. And it is so much fun. And I'm wondering why it's not on Eric's list.
I've only played it once. So it is not wormed its way into my heart the way it has with many others. Incan Gold was the first game you ever gave me, Tom.
I gave you a game?
You did. It was at Origins, and it was our first meeting in person, and there was like an extra copy that you had gotten a stack of them to give away as prizes. And I was like, oh, I've never played that. And you said, well, here, have one. And I was like, I treasure it, but I don't play it because I want it to stay in mint condition.
Play it with your sons. They would love it.
No, I think it would work well with the family. This is another one that I need to bring out with the group.
I need to get your son's email address and start feeding him
suggestions.
Like, how comes your dad doesn't play this game with you? If I were your father, I would have played it with you.
But maybe.
Incan Gold.
Number 2.
Number 2, Tom alluded to a little bit earlier, and that's Flip City. This is really a fun little deck builder where you get to flip the cards to improve them. You can spend your currency to flip and improve them, and really, you get to manipulate your deck in such fun ways, especially with the expansion. But one of the cool mechanisms is these frowny faces, and you can continue to draw cards, again, as many as you want, until you get a certain number of frowny faces, and then you have busted and get nothing for that round. So maybe I can just push it one more, but also some of these cards you have to play when they come up on the top of your deck. So there's a real danger there. If I draw one more card, I could be forced to play the next 2, and then I'm done. Plus, in addition to that, that's already a great little push and pull decision. How many coins can I get if I just draw one more card? But one of the victory conditions, assuming you have one of these convenience stores in your deck, is if you play 18 cards in a turn, you win. Forget about the victory points. Just play a bunch of cards and you win. So if you make your deck super safe and get a bunch of cards in your deck, you could just press your luck, and win it. That's motivation to keep going. Flip City, my number 2.
Yeah, it's a good mechanism, and it really makes Flip City. My number 2 is Eric's what? Okay. My number 2 is Celestia, which has just been, it was originally Cloud 9 from Out of the Box Publishing, but they are no longer in business. And so now the rights have been picked up by a European publisher and by QSF, Quick Simple Fun Games.
Out of the Box is no longer publishing?
They are not. They kind of like fizzled out. I don't know when it happened, actually. It happened in the last year and a half.
Whoa.
Yeah, I went to their website. It's no longer existing. So I'm trying to remember the last time we saw them at a convention. I want to say it was Gen Con 2 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
Snake Oil was, I think, their last game, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. They had that huge hit with Apples to Apples, and they sold that to Mattel, and they never really recovered from that sale, I think.
Man.
They got a lot of money, but the company itself just didn't, there wasn't a lot of games to push.
I seem to have derailed you. I apologize. Please continue.
No. I mean, it's news, that type thing. But, yeah, I really like Out of the Box Publishing. They brought a lot of gaming to mass market, I think would be the word for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the games I liked that they made was Cloud 9. Celestia is a better version. It's so beautiful. As you fly in this little blimp and you jump out when you think it's going to crash. You're trying to figure out when it's going to crash, and the longer you stay in, the more points you get, but if it crashes, you get nothing. Extremely fun game. I would say it was the most played game at Dice Tower Convention this year.
Really?
Well, it was checked out almost more than any other game.
Huh. I mean, I'm aware of it. I played Cloud 9 maybe once, many years ago. I've glanced at the new edition, but I had no idea it was so beloved.
I will make sure you get a copy of this, that you will then play once.
Okay. I will play at least once.
Yay.
And finally, number 1.
My number 1 is, of course, Can't Stop. It's the classic. It's the distilled...
Can't stop the dice rolling.
Push your luck. And one of my most memorable games of this was with you, Tom, at a Dice Tower Con, where you refused to stop. You went for the glory of winning, I think, on your first turn. It may not have been your first turn, but in one turn.
No, I go for the glory at every single turn. It's every turn.
Every turn was like your first turn because you had nothing, and you scored 2 of the columns in one turn. And I was begging you to stop. Please, my heart can't take it. Please stop, Tom. But you couldn't stop. Can't stop.
I'm only obeying the rules of the game. I like this. This is in my top 15 games. I don't know what it is about Can't Stop. I like it, and I'll play it, and I'll really take it to town when I do play it. I just don't ever really seek it out myself.
Mm-hmm.
But, hey, my number 1 is my new hotness type thing, I guess. It's not even that new. I think it's like 2.5 years old, but that's Port Royal. I really enjoy this game because you're flipping over cards, deciding when to take them, when to buy them. But if you flip over too many cards, you're offering a lot of cards to the next people, and you're turning these ships over, and you can handle a certain number of ships. But if you turn over 2 of the same color, then you are out of that round and get nothing. I really enjoy this game. It has an expansion, which I've not played. I'm really pumped about it. I have a copy it's in my convention traveling section that I will probably be bringing with me next week.
Oh boy, I get to see Tom next week.
You know what? We should mention that right now before I forget. Folks, this week, this Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we will be at the Portal Game Store in Manchester, Connecticut. Please come see us if you are in New England.
Please do. I'll be there.
Actually, if you're in the United States, just come.
Yeah, just anywhere.
Eric is there as an afterthought, I think. Because I believe their announcement says, come see Tom, Sam, and Z at the blah, blah, blah. Oh, and Eric Summer is also coming.
I think they referred to you guys as everyone's favorite gaming trio. And then in parentheses it says, and Eric Summer.
But no, you shouldn't look at it negatively. It's like that sitcom where they're like all the actors and featuring.
Yeah, that's
Eric
it.
Summer.
Yeah, I'm the
voice.
Michael Shanks of this group. Yeah.
So, but yes, please come on out. We will be doing a top 10 list live. We'll be doing a game show live. We will be playing games with people. We can't promise to play games with everybody because we're only there for like 2 days. But we will try to get in as much gaming as we can.
Good times will be had by at least some.
Well, even if you don't play games with us, there'll be other people there playing games.
It'll be a great gathering of folks. It'll be fun.
All right, let's see what our contributors think are the best push your luck games.
This is Chris with Flip the Table, and while Dead Man's Draw is creeping up there, it has not yet unseated Can't Stop as my favorite push your luck game. One of my favorite game situations in all of gaming is if you can get runners on the 6, 7, and 8, the statistically most probable dice to roll, and you try to drive the lane to win on the first turn. I've only ever done it once. It was in the app, so I can never prove that it happened, but I promise you, it's an absolute thrill.
Hey everyone, it's Mark Zielinski, and favorite push your luck game. Well, I'm going to go with the one I play most often, and that's because I have the app on my phone, Zombie Dice, put out in 2010 by Steve Jackson Games. This is a die rolling game. You've got red, green, and yellow dice that all have different combinations of symbols on them, and as a zombie, you're trying to grab as many brains as you can while trying to avoid getting 3 shotgun blasts in your turn. If you do, you just don't get any points. You push it on to the next guy. And a lot of fun, fast, furious. And hey, with the love of zombies out there in the world today, I'm sure this will be a hit at your next party. Zombie Dice.
Hey guys, the Broken Meeple here. There's no contest for Push Your Luck games. There is only Celestia, the reprint of Cloud9 from last year's Essen. Now, this one has that classic Push Your Luck of do I stay in the ship or do I get out? But that added little element of bluffing where each player can look at their cards and then look at you and go, yeah, I got this, guys. It's okay. I can deal with birds. No problem. And then you believe him, you stay in the ship, and then you crash. It's got that extra element to boost Push Your Luck to a whole new level. Looks gorgeous. Fantastic components. Celestia, totally underrated.
Hello, this is Ignacy Czewczyk, Portal Games.
And this is Stephen Bonacore, Stronghold Games. We are Board Games Insider. And top 10 Push Your Luck games. What do you got, Ignacy?
King of Tokyo from Richard Garfield, one of my favorite designers. Amazing game, killing monsters, killing each other, rolling dice. Blast for me.
Really, really good one. I'm going to go with, I'd like to say Bear Valley. I'm going to go with Bang the Dice game. Love it. You keep pushing your luck to get the right rolls to go, and also has that hidden traitor in there, so you're going to go after the sheriff, you're going to protect the sheriff. Love that.
This is Anthony from Board Gamers Anonymous, and for me, the best Push Your Luck game has to be the one with the most enticing die, because of course it can't be a Push Your Luck game without dice rolling. That game is going to be Formula D. Anytime you have a die that big, 30-sided, looking at you the entire game, you cannot help but push your luck until you get to the point where you've shifted up and can use it. Realistically, there's only one spot on the board you can use it on most boards, and it's usually a bad idea to do it, but that's the hallmark of a great push your luck game. For me, it's got to be Formula D.
Rebecca and Hunter here from Family Showdown. My favorite press your luck game is Welcome to the Dungeon. It's a cute little game that relies on pressing your luck and a little bit of memory to help you survive a trip through the dungeon with your hero.
I have a love-hate relationship with press your luck games. I never know when to stop. My favorite game is Ink and Gold, a cave exploration game with big risk, big reward, mostly risk.
Hey folks, this is Graham from Four Corners of the Board. For Push Your Luck games, this is an easy one, Zombie Dice. I have other Push Your Luck games, and some of them are better playing, but for some reason this one has stuck as my favorite. Probably because it is fast, simple, and you can win on the first turn, or your turn can be over on the first roll of the dice, and I just love the expansions. It also probably helps that I won the Dice Tower Con Championship 2 years ago.
Hey, this is Paul Owen of Dice Tower News. The best Push Your Luck game in my mind has got to be Ink and Gold, in which it isn't just the next card draw that you're trying to outguess, but your opponent's intentions as well. This isn't exactly a bluffing game, nobody has hidden cards, but it certainly is a game of bailing out when you think everyone else will stay, or staying when you think everybody else is going to bail. It's a family favorite for us, Ink and Gold.
This is Marty and Tony from Rolling Dice and Taking Names, and even though you may not think it's Push Your Luck, Code Names is going to be my choice, because when you think about it, when you're given the opportunity of whether you want to continue or not with the number of guesses that you have, it's kind of a Push Your Luck situation, but more in a team format. Tony, what about you?
Well, Marty, I love the Grizzled, and it is also, in my opinion, a great push your luck. Do you really want to move forward with that and put down the next event, or is it going to cause you to crash and burn for the next player? So for me, Simon, the Grizzled.
This is Trent Howell with the Board Game Family, and our favorite push your luck game is Ink and Gold. While Can't Stop is definitely a contender, we love the player interaction in Ink and Gold even more. Rather than waiting for other people to run their luck with rolling dice and Can't Stop, in Ink and Gold everyone is making a choice to continue or stop on every turn. And choosing when to stop can be as much about the possibilities of what danger will be flipped over next as it is about guessing when the other players will pull out to store their treasure. Just thinking about it now makes me want to pull out Ink and Gold to play tonight.
Well, see, there you go. Somebody did it. Chris from Flip the Table did push his luck and won on the first turn of Can't Stop. He just can't prove it to anyone.
That's right. If I do it, I'm taking a picture with witnesses. I'll have them all sign an affidavit.
Mm-hmm.
On this day of 2043, Tom Vassell did hereby win Can't Stop on one round. He was also quite old. He would have stopped, but he forgot that it was still his turn. All right, let's see. The People's Choice, number 10, was Port Royal. Yeah! Number 9 is Pass the Pigs. That's like the very simplicity of Push Your Luck. Another game that's not on the People's Choice or anywhere would be, there's so many different names of it. Cheaters and, the one where you're trying to roll, if you roll 1 and a 6, you can score those. And if you roll 3 of a kind, you can score those. There's a lot of different names for that game.
You're making this up right now.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
It's called Cheaters. Okay, I'm gonna look it up online and see what the other names of it are, because my problem is that Cheaters is not the main name of it, or Cheater. I guess it's not Cheaters, because there's a lot of variations on it. All right, hang on. Cheater.
There were a lot of Yahtzee variants as I was researching this list.
No, that's not the game.
I like Yahtzee.
Maybe it's just called Cheat. Oh, man, now I can't find the game to prove it to you.
There's Casino Yahtzee.
Yeah. Okay, well, never mind. Let's go back to what the People's Choice was. They said Pass the Pigs. Number 8, Dead Man's Draw. Number 7, Formula D. Number 6, Raw. Number 5, Celestia. Eric.
Yeah, okay.
Number 4, Zombie Dice. Number 3, Ink and Gold. Number 2, King of Tokyo. Number 1, Can't Stop.
Can't Stop.
So we were actually very close to the people on this one.
We were.
Okay, folks, well, that's it. I hope to see some of you this coming weekend. We hope you are having a fantastic week. It's time for us to end.
Indeed.
So until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Eric Summerer.
And you've been listening to The Dice Tower.
Thanks for listening. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. This episode, number 474, was recorded on September 8th, 2016. Coming up next week, who got you into gaming? Find out what our contributors have to say. This podcast is sponsored by listeners like you. Thank you for your continued support. And speaking of support, the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund is dedicated to providing support to members of the board gaming community in their hour of need. If a catastrophic event has turned your game upside down, find out how we can help at jackvassell.org. The Dice Tower is produced by Tom and me, with assistance from Jason Thompson, Itai Perez, Eric Matthews, and Rob Searing. Our tales of Boolean logic are provided by Legends of And/Or. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at CoolStuffInc.com. Let us know what you think of the show by posting to the Dice Tower Guild at BoardGameGeek.com, following the Dice Tower on Twitter, or by emailing us at dicetower@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network, including The Broken Meeple, Boards and Swords, Start Space, The Long View, The Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast, and Board Game University. Find out more at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all the gang at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming. So, Tom, you going to play some curling with me? I'm going to bring my tabletop curling board.
No one's going to play that with you.
What?
That's
no,
not true.
It's going to be just me sitting in the corner. Won't someone play?
All right, fine. If you're going to bring that in my luggage, I will pack a dust brush so that I can make the irritating joke you always hear every time you play the game.
Yes, number 672.
but I'm going to actually do it. No one has done that before.
That's true. No one has tried to sweep in front of any of these stones.
And I will do it.